As you're out there building your business, you probably have thought to yourself, I should hire someone. Or you've maxed out the amount of work that you can do on your own and you need to hire someone now. Whether it's now or later, it has to happen at some point. And you may have not known, but it's very expensive to hire the wrong person. You can have an employee steal from you, lie to you, or just simply not be qualified and make mistakes that didn't need to be made. But all of that can be avoided if you hire right. My guest today is Jordan Weyburn, who has made his fair share of mistakes when hiring people for his business. But Jordan did what I hope a lot of you are doing, which is making adjustments when mistakes are made. He now has a 10-step, 2-week process to hire anybody new on his team. And the results? His employees do a better job, they stay longer, and they build a better culture in his business. We're going over what can happen if you hire the wrong person, what to look for on resumes, and what process to go down when hiring someone to work for you. Jordan has lost his fair share of time, his fair share of money, and had a lot more stress from hiring the wrong person. Learn from him and don't make the same mistakes. Find out how he hires the right people on this episode with Jordan Weyburn. This is Utah Hustlers, the podcast that helps you build your business to $10,000 a month. My name is Skylar Beindorp, and my mission is to help you achieve success, happiness, and freedom on your own terms.
My name is Jordan Wayburn. I own an insurance agency with American Family Insurance, and I've been an agency owner for about 4.5 years. Early on, I went on an LDS mission, learned how to do, sell. I guess you could sell religion, you could sell anything, and then got recruited to door-to-door sales. So that kind of jump-started my sales career or entrepreneurship, I guess. I did that for almost 5 years with Dish. Sold some Dish TV all over Texas and Iowa, and it was a great experience. Honestly, taught me a lot about just I feel like there's hunters and there's huggers, and teaches you how to hunt, right? You got to kill what you got to eat, and you got to go. And learn how to be a commission mindset, and really taught me a lot of foundational things like recruiting and talking to people. So I did that through college, met my wife, took her for a couple summers, and just wasn't conducive for marriage. And I was like, I don't want to be a traveling salesman like the Music Man, So right when I graduated, I got a big boy job, like benefits and salary, and I just couldn't stand it. It was so hard for me to be in a desk all day, even though I'm in a desk a lot of the time, but I didn't like to work for somebody else. I knew there was meat on the bone, and I was successful, but I just wasn't happy. And I remember always talking to my father-in-law and being like, dude, I've got to find something else. And he was in insurance, and it piqued my interest. And I remember when I first met him, just beautiful house, I was like, what do you do for a living? And he's like, oh, I own an insurance agency. And I was like, tell me more, and I'd always just talk to him, and come to find out my future brother-in-law was also in insurance. So I talked to him about it. And it wasn't ever super sexy or anything, but it piqued my interest, and the time piqued my interest, the autonomy. So meanwhile, I was having success at this corporate company called CHG or Comp Health. They recruit doctors, and super foreign to me because I was used to face-to-face. And then I quit the day after President's Club and jumped into agency. So I started scratch as an agent, and meaning you just go in with no book of business, no knowledge, you're literally stacking pennies. And I jumped into it, and that was 4.5 years ago, and I'm here today.
So did it take the 4.5 years to hit that 10K a month, or was it?
As far as my business, I was seeing over $10,000 checks, within the first, couple months. But as far as, take home, it was, probably 3 years.
Okay.
Until I was actually taking home that, without expenses. So, yeah.
So it's a lot of work up front, but then it pays off down the road.
Yeah, it's like a freight train. The beginning, you're pushing it, as hard as you can, and then pretty soon you're riding it.
So what you have, is it more kind of like a franchise versus?
Yeah, so I'm a captive agent. So I sell AmFam products. We can sell other products like Progressive, or we can brokerage out. But I'm a captive agent, and I'm a franchise owner. So I'm an S Corp. I have my own company. Mm-hmm. They pay me, obviously, as a 1099, and then I have my own employees underneath that.
What are the benefits to having the franchise versus just starting your own thing?
Your own brokerage?
Yeah.
Yeah, an independent route. So that was one thing that my brother-in-law told me when I first decided, insurance. He's like, go sit down with every company and make sure the decision you make is the right one. Because once you make it, it's really hard to change. So I sat down with independents, I sat down with State Farm, I sat down with Farmers, and obviously American Family. And the perks, obviously, going on the independent side is you have so many carriers you can shop with. But the one way you can get in, the only way you can, without any experience, is you have to go and work for somebody else, and then take your percentage of the book. and you don't get a lot of help and not a lot of resources, right? You're kind of like, here's a 1-800 number you can call if you need help. And I really liked the plan that American Family had for me to be able to make money, hire people, have like some income while I'm losing an income and trying to grow a business. So they just had a really good plan. They had tons of resources, and I was like, all right, I'm in. So that's what made me choose AmFam.
So it just seems like that was just the better option.
Yeah,
overall.
for the time, for where I'm even at now, like as a company, like they're just super honest. Like they have integrity. They live up to their core values. Like I remember one time, like I got a call from my state director last December, and he's like, "Hey, Jay-Way," that's my nickname because there's a lot of Jordans. Like, "Hey, Jay-Way, got some good news." I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" He's like, "Looks like AmFam underpaid you by $37,000 on your new business because on AmFam as a new agent, you have like bonuses, so they underpaid me." And he's like, "So we're gonna cut you a check for 37 grand." I was like, "Sweet." Like I wasn't auditing my pay stubs, I didn't see that, but their accounting caught it, and then they paid me. So like that's a pretty cool thing to say. A company's like, we underpaid you. Here you go, you know? So I think it's a pretty good company to work for.
No, yeah, that's awesome. You want to work for someone who's trustworthy and that you can count on to do the right thing.
For sure. I make residual income. Like that's what's cool about insurance. So if I sold a policy to you for car insurance for 6 months, let's say that's like $800, like then I make 9% off of that like when you pay, and then I make it again in 6 months. So I don't make a lot of money. And then on a policy for a home or a farm or, you know, life insurance or general liability for business or whatever, those are year policies and you make different percentages. But it's a numbers game, right? Like the more policies you have, obviously it just accumulates and adds up, right? So eventually, you know, you're making money just by chilling. Obviously, there's still work involved in service stuff and overhead, but at the end of the day, you're basically living on your residual income. But you're not making money in insurance until year 3.5, 4, depending on how much you're selling and depending on how much team you have. And you can't sell unless you have someone servicing, and you can't grow unless you have another person selling other than you. At the end of the day, yeah, it took me about 3.5 years till I was making 10 grand, till we were able to buy a house. We had a townhome that we ended up renting out, fortunately, and we're very blessed to be able to buy another house and be able to, you know, have some more space. And it's cool to be able to have like financial freedom. But like, as I told you earlier, like I focus my time on things that make me money and experiences, because I feel like those two things are priceless. You can't put a number on those.
Because how it works is like money is just a representation of the time that you spent to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, money is time and time is money. And so, yeah, I think life is kind of wasted if you're just spending it always chasing a bigger box to live in, faster car to drive.
Yeah.
Times that I've spent with family and friends doing something that I love are memories that stick with me forever and actually bring me joy.
Yeah, it's priceless, man.
Yeah. From as far as I can see it, the benefit of having a franchise is you don't have to build a brand. The brand's already built.
Yeah.
You just have to build your portion of like the business.
You got to put your name on it.
You got to put your name on it. And so that's a huge benefit instead of starting your own thing. Is no one knows who you are. No one will know what Jordan Insurance is. They'll just know. They'll know, but they know and trust American Family Insurance.
Yeah.
And so it makes a lot more sense to do that if you don't want to take the time to build a brand.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many employees do you have right now?
So I've got 3 employees. Yeah, 3 full-time employees, and obviously myself.
How many employees have you gone through over the last however many years?
Gosh, dude, I don't even want to think about it, dude. Probably 12, maybe less. That's the hardest thing about any job, like any entrepreneurship, any business owner is like people. Like you are what your people are. And the minute you stop caring about all the other bull crap, at the end of the day, like you got to make sure your team is your number one priority. And I've had to learn that through so many fires and let goes and talks. And if you aren't a good person having crucial conversations, you're going to have to learn quick.
Yeah, have those hard conversations with employees.
Hire slow and fire fast. You know, that's like my method. And it's taken me a long time to get good, steady flow, like a hiring process and being able to find the right talent, right? Because you want to find those people that are in the right seat. And I think there's a certain personality for each seat too. So when I hire people, I have them take what's called an anagram. So it's like an exam you have to pay for. It's like 120 questions, but it basically gives you a number for your personality. Like I told you, there's hunters and there's huggers. I feel like those huggers, you cannot put them in a hunter role. Like there's salespeople, there's service people, right? And there's certain people that can do both, right? But there's distinct people for each role. And so I've had to learn that over a lot of having people in the wrong seats, you know? I have a very long hiring process now and kind of vested process where I'll funnel those people out during the process, but I've learned it through a lot of trial and error for sure.
Yeah.
So
is it expensive to hire the wrong person?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I do thousands of dollars and wasted time and energy, and you can have people quit 6 months after, you know?
Right. How important is it that we hire the right people for the job?
Yeah, it's the foundation of having a business because you don't want to do all the work forever. That's the point of having a business, right? It's crucial. I think, it's foundational. If you don't have that realized early on in a business, like learn it quick. I remember when I first jumped to the agency, I was asking these veteran agents, like, what's one thing you recommend? It's like good staff, like good team, people that care about what they do and treat them right. Pay them well, don't be cheap. Because you have to compete against these other enterprises that have limited PTO and doggy daycare and, 5-month paternity leave, like crazy benefits, So you want it to be fun, you want to have a culture, you want to have core values, and you want to treat them right.
So, what qualities do you look for when interviewing people?
Yeah, I look for a familiar face, but like voice. Like if you talk to them, like you want to keep talking to them, they're engaging. They're someone you want to be around. They don't have to be energetic, but they have to be, nice. You've talked to somebody on the phone, whether it's like AT&T or whatever. Like if you talk to someone that's good at customer service, you can tell because they're engaging. A lot of our stuff is minimal service work, but when we are doing those service tasks, like we want to be able to, go the extra mile and make sure they remember when they talk to us. And so when they call in, they're like, oh, hey, how are you, Bree? Or how are you? They know. So yeah, super important.
You have a whole process you go through when hiring someone
10
now.
steps.
What's the first step?
Is a phone screen. It's not done by me, but it's done by my wife. She'll do the phone screen. Like I'll tell her who to call. And then she'll do a phone screen where she'll just ask them a bunch of questions. If it goes off, that's fine. That's great. We want it to go off, right? But does it sound like a familiar person? Ask about their experience, why they're interested in this job, what they know about American Family, just some basic questions, and why they're looking for an opportunity. And then if she approves it, then it goes to me. And then I'll do an interview with them in person. I'll just let them know it's a lengthy process. This is the first step out of many. And if the interview goes well, then I'll have them do an anagram. I'll actually have them do an anagram when they come for the interview. So that's kind of like the step 2 and 3. And the anagram will tell me if they're the right, number for the job, right? So if they're, a 9, which is more of like 9 is going to be like the self-nurtured, like caring person. And I'm looking for sales. I'm going to talk to them about that and let them know like that's important to me. And I'm going to talk them through their number. If they're an 8, they're more of a challenger. They're probably going to be good at sales. If they're a 3, they're number driven. They like to focus on numbers. It's called the pink Huffy rule, but they'd rather, win a pink cup of coffee than anything, right? Like they don't care. Or I'm a 7, like I'm an enthusiast, like I'm high energy, but I'm also like all over the place as far as like energy, but also tasks, but also organization sometimes and processes. So every seat has a number and that anagram is important. And then after that interview, I send them, I want to see if they can type, if they can write. So I send them a problem to be solved. And I wanted to see if they can solve it and send it back to me like formulated. And after that, then they're going to interview. They're going to call 3 of my trusted advisors, which are other mentors in my company or that I know. And then it's going to give those 3 people who I trust and value their opinion an opportunity to talk to this person, see what they think, tell them how it is to work with me, all the above, right? And it's also going to give me an opportunity to see if this candidate is good at following up because I'm just going to give them their contact info and then I'm going to check in and see, did this person call them? Did they talk to them? What's going on? If that goes well, then I'm going to tell them to sit down with my team and talk to my team and do a team lunch so they can get to know my team and if it's a good vibe in the culture and with them as far as interpersonal, because that's a huge factor. And then if that goes well, they're going to interview me and ask me questions about the role, how it is to work with me and pay, everything in above the sun benefits. And then I'm going to give them an offer. That's the last step.
How long does that process take?
2 weeks.
Okay, so that's not too long.
No, but that's longer than normal, right? Like most companies or corporations, like you'd say like a starting position, it's like maybe 1 or 2 interviews, maybe 3. So yeah, it could be a week, for most places, but it depends on how quick they are. But yeah, we noticed that, and that's just recent. We've done that. Like I've had 2 hires where it's been that process. But before that, it was like, yeah, they sound good. And then like you do the screening that you get emotionally involved in it. That's why I don't do the screening because I'm like, I like them. And they come in, I'm like, yeah, I like them. And then I'm like, hey, what do you think of this person? I like them. What do you think? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, okay. And then like you get in there, you're like, this is not a great hire, So it's like, I've had so many of those where a lot of other people are like, yeah, I'd hire them too. And I have other people come in and a lot of people are just good at bluffing, right? Like that interview, what I've realized is that's the best you're going to see that person, no matter what. Like they might be good the first day or second day, just like they were in the interview, but like that's the best you're going to see of them. So it's best to get as many opinions as that person as possible and then formulate your decision on that.
Okay, so you having your wife do the first screening, it's not because you're lazy or don't have the time. It's a strategic move.
Yeah, because
so
I don't want to have
involved.
Any opinion on that person when they come in and talk to me other than like my wife approved them and that's great. And like their resume.
So for people that are just starting their business and hiring their first few employees, they probably don't have the ability and all the different people to go through to
Yeah.
have a process. So if you were to take that 10-step process down to just like 3 or 5 steps, what would you do?
I'd say definitely I would do a screen, whether it's like a friend or a girlfriend or a colleague, a boyfriend, like whoever it is, like to do the first call, just to screen and vet, make sure that they're, experienced more than anything. And then obviously bring them in for an interview. If you want to look at the anagram, like we can post it on this, I can share it with you, like where it's at, where it's accessible. I think everyone should take it. I think it's like an awesome tool. There's tons of books about it as well. But I think you should take it and then have your team take it, and so you can see kind of where everyone's at. But there's certain numbers for certain seats for sure. So I think you need to correlate that with your decision. And then I think the third thing is you need to, if you do have a team, have them meet your team. And then if you maybe have a mentor, someone that you really trust and value, just say, hey, reach out to this person. This is my reference. I would say, like, hey, this is my reference. This is my person I want you to call, and just see how it is to work with me. And then give them an offer. You don't have to do all 10 steps by any means. But for me personally, that's just has worked, better than the failures,
Yeah. So how much longer have you kept employees since having that process?
Yeah, over a year. Like previously to that, my longest employee was a year. Yeah, I've had some nasty employees too, like experiences, but yeah, just funny stories too. Like you just wouldn't believe, but
yeah. So even though it's a more intensive process, takes longer, might be a pain in the butt, in the long run, it pays you back tenfold.
Yeah, you got to put in the effort. And guess what? Like during those processes where I'm hiring, my business is slowing down. But you have to be able to take those steps back to take those steps, forward. Like you have to. And if you can't learn how to turn it off and be like, I have a need and I have the funds to be able to hire this person, like I have to just take a step back and do it.
Do you have potential candidates send you a resume?
Yeah, so I always make sure you get a resume. Like I post all over. Like I'll post on Indeed, KSL, Facebook. But more than that, like I'm always recruiting. Like I'm always keeping my eye on people. My wife's really good at this too. Like whether it's through Chick-fil-A or like whether you're at the bank. Like banks, like tellers have to work weekends. Like do you like working weekends? Wherever it's at. Like if it's a waitress, waiter, like if it's someone that's like that person would be great. Like I want someone that's already happy in their current job because they're gonna be happy in the job that I give them. If they're happy doing that, then they're gonna be the best working for me.
Yeah, being happy is a mindset.
Yeah, and it's characteristics, right? Like attitude, like being optimistic. Like those are the people I want. Like those are the best. The people you find are the people that are referred to you because they already have an endorsement and just stamped on their head, right? So
what green flag should people look at when going over a resume?
Number one, especially nowadays, is like length of job history. Like was there like if they have like 5-6 month period of jobs, like they're just trying to find what works for them. Like that's no. 2 years, like 3 years, 4 years, like the longer the better. I think everyone's going to look at that as like an employer because that's what you want. You want a loyalist. For me, that's what I look at number one. And then obviously, their references, like if they have references listed, I'm calling those. And if they have leadership experience, like that's great. You want good feedback from their peers and where they've worked for sure.
What if someone lies on their resume? Do you have a way to kind of vet that out besides calling their references?
Yeah, I've had a lot of people lie. I don't know. There's no way to get by it, man. You just hope you don't get the liars. But if they lie about a felony, they can't get an insurance license. But if they lie about their work history, I think it'll prove, But I'm sure people lie on resumes,
Yeah.
Like how often do you think a company's going to go check your degree or whatever? like I'm going to go call for your transcripts, like show me your degree.
Almost never.
Yeah, never.
They look at that stuff. Like
never.
I feel like they usually they trust what you have.
Yeah,
on
like
resume.
MBA, had to be Brigham Young. Yeah,
because it's totally possible to say I worked at a job let's say I worked at a car dealership for 3 years. It's totally possible for me to tell you that, even though that's not true, and to put on a number of a reference for my best friend and say
you totally could.
You're the manager. So it's possible. Probably.
I'm sure people
it sounds like
do
it happens, but not too often.
Yeah, I think nowadays most people are just using like ChatGPT for their, resume. Create me a resume and references.
Do you ever look at people's social media?
Oh yeah.
Before?
Like I'll do all the stalking I can. And that's why I had like this funny situation, like if you want story time, but I had this guy that I hired and it was so hard to do any stalking because he had the same name as like a famous politician. So when I would look him up, I couldn't find anything, and come to find out, like he was like very well spoken. I remember I had another agent interview him with me and he's like, I'd hire him like in a minute. Come to find out he had a lot of baggage and a lot of stuff he didn't tell me. And he had a lot of issues with the law, and he was on Dr. Phil and, just a bunch of stuff. And come to find out I had to let him go. And it was like It was like my first time I had to fire somebody, and I was like so nervous. And I was only agent for like a year at that point. But yeah, just had a lot of those, man. But definitely do your research if you can, and a background check.
Yeah, because I think social media tells you a lot about people. Because you can tell a lot about someone based off what they post. Are they outdoorsy? Do they not post anything? Is it, I don't know. We can talk about what's good or bad, but is it like not so good stuff? Is it bad? Yeah, is it appropriate? But yeah, anytime I'm about to like work with someone or talk with someone or even have someone on the podcast, I look at their social media. Who is this person? Are they who they say they are? What are their qualities?
Their interests?
Their interests. Yeah,
their family. Like it adds talking points too. Like
if you hire someone and they're on your team for like a month and you start seeing things that are kind of like red flags.
Yeah, they don't align with how like the role is or how I hired them to be.
Yeah, how soon do you fire them, or do you
we're gonna
say
have
something
a
to
talk
them?
for sure, right? Like so we have monthly 1-to-1s, like so everyone's accountable to get on my calendar. It's a thing that each team member's accountable for, and so they'll get on the calendar and we'll talk about our core values, we'll talk about their stress levels, and just do regular check-ins. But yeah, if I notice those things off the bat, like especially early on, like we're gonna have a talk and we're gonna address whatever needs to be fixed, and whether it's interpersonal with other team members, whether it's work, production, whatever it is. Like I said, you got to be good at having crucial conversations early as a business owner.
Have you read that book?
The Crucial Conversations? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book.
So you'll have the first talk with them, and then if nothing changes, then what?
Then we're gonna have another talk, and it's gonna be a bigger come to Jesus, and then after that talk, you're gone.
Okay, so it's 3 strikes and you're out type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems fair between like employer-employee relationship, because I always hate it when people, it's like you make one mistake, you're gone. A lot of times that mistake may cost you money. In my opinion, I'd want to keep someone who's made a mistake and then learn from it than someone who's, than to take on a brand new person. Because it's like if it was a $10,000 mistake, well, I just paid $10,000 for this employee to learn to never do that again.
Yeah, the employer doesn't want to fire you as much as
it's expensive, and it's a process to hire someone.
Yeah, it's not fun.
So it took you 3.5 years to make that $10,000 a month. When you started, it was just you, right?
Yeah.
At what point should someone look at hiring an employee?
So that's between you and obviously the amount of money you have coming in, right? Like if you can gauge it off how busy you are. I hired my first employee like 3-4 months in, just another sales producer, because I didn't have enough accounts to service. I could service them myself and still sell. So I hired my first salesperson, and he was with me for like 6 months. Then I hired my next sales guy, who was with me for a year, and then now he's with me again. He came back like 4 or 5 months ago. So be good to your employees, they'll come back. But I based that off of, okay, like I want to grow, and based off my bonuses and how much I was selling, I just wasn't paying myself anything because I knew I was living off savings. Like I was like, I want to grow, so I need to duplicate myself. That's it. So I'm going to hire someone else to sell.
Yeah. So let's talk about more of that duplicating yourself. So I think a lot of people, when they first have a business, they think an employee is going to be expensive. It's going to cost them money. But really, it's like hiring another you to make more money. Do you have to be making, like, say if I want to pay an employee $4,000 a month, do I have to wait till I make $4,000 or $8,000 a month and then start paying them that $4,000, or should I just?
Well, it depends on what you like. How much money do you have stowed away? Like, do you have savings? Did you prepare for? Most of the time when people have an idea of entrepreneurship or a business, like they have a budget and they have a plan. Like I've saved this amount of money. Like I'm going to do this. This is what's going to cost me. I can come back on expenses here, eating out here. Like you got to make money and time for it, right? So fortunately enough, me and my wife had like $10K stowed away, and we're like, okay, I'm not contributing to my retirement. Like I am like, this is our money to live. And if we need to take a little bit more from the business, we will. That's kind of how I base that off of. So you need to have a budget. You need to know what your take home is. Like, what do I need to live? What needs to pay my mortgage and my groceries and my gas and my phone and internet, whatever else. And then if you don't have a budget, like there's a cool app I just barely found out about, because everyone has like the Mint or whatever. That's called like YNAB, I think. Heard of it? You can share it with like another user, have access to your bank accounts, find like your budget, and that's a good way to base like what's my life needs on. And then from there, it's like, okay, well, if I'm making $5K a month, and let's say my beginning checks at the beginning of the month are a little bit more because they have commissions on them, then I can afford to pay an employee $4,000 a month, and then if my take home's $2,000, then it'll work. I know I need to sell this amount of money, this amount of premium, or this amount in sales to get there. And just know you have to hit that. You got to take risks to get reward. If you are listening to this and you're in entrepreneurship, like that's the biggest step, right? Like massive action and just do it. Most of the time you're going to fall on your face. It's okay. Just do it again.
Yeah. You will fail. You got to take the risks. It sounds like a big part of hiring is planning. You got to know your numbers, where you're at, what you can live on, and then what you need to pay someone. So let's talk about more of the planning part. How do you plan for a business to hire someone and how much it's going to make? Like, where do you start with that?
Yeah. So fortunately enough, like part of the reason I chose AmFam is because we have agency business consultants we can talk to, and they can help formulate a business plan. If you don't have that, like I have that luxury, then I would say the internet is obviously a great tool you can go to formulate a business plan.
Like the University of YouTube.
Dude, you have tons of resources at your disposal. It's just up to you how resourceful you are.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's like next to self-discipline, self-control. I think discipline, and being resourceful is the next thing. Is like you have to be resourceful as an entrepreneur. The resources are out there. It's just up to you, and depending on how lazy you are or how hard you want to work. Like my biggest pet peeve or anything, Skylar, is people that are lazy. That's why I could never work an hourly job, because I'd look around and I'd be like, how's that guy making the same amount as me? And then I decided like, I'm going to control how much I make. And that's the cool thing about entrepreneurship, right? Like, I was just at the summit, like Slopes Their Day, like listening to them talk about Utah being like the entrepreneurship capital of the world. It's pretty cool. And I think a lot of people love the idea of being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, but they don't realize like it comes with risk and it comes with working hard. And if you can do those two things, like I don't care who you are, and you can talk to people, even if you can't, you can teach yourself how to talk to people.
Yeah.
Like you can learn how to have a good conversation, how to make connections, how to make people like you. And if you don't, you're going to hide your weaknesses, you're going to hide your strengths, and you're going to duplicate yourself. But what I mean by that is like, be resourceful. You don't know how to make a budget, then sit down, pull up Excel and plan a budget, right? Or get an app that helps you create it, or get QuickBooks and do your books and know where your numbers are. And then do some simple math with a calculator.
Because you can learn essentially anything off of Google, YouTube. So let's be resourceful. That's, I think, what a lot of people need to hear is basically any problem you have, you can Google how to solve that problem. And you just have to not be lazy, like you said, and be willing to put in the work and take the risk.
Instead of scrolling on, Instagram, whatever, get on the computer and work.
Yeah.
Put the extra time in.
Exactly.
I think looking back at my successes as an insurance agent, I never would have picked insurance as an avenue. Like people don't want to be insurance when they grow up. But I think, honestly, I couldn't have chosen a better career path for myself, because what I value is autonomy and I value freedom. And I have ways that I like to treat myself and like to network. So I use my time and my network as an advantage for me. I like to golf. That's like one of my biggest hobbies is I'll take, mortgage lenders or real estate agents or my points of contact that are my referral sources, and we'll go golf and we'll go have a good time and I'll get to know you.
Do you ever take your employees out golfing?
All the time.
Yeah.
Dude, we have fun, man. Tomorrow we're having a Mario Kart tournament, dude.
Oh, that's awesome.
Switch. We're bringing the Switch. We got the trash talk already starting. It's going to be great.
Boom.
So.
Well, because it's one thing to hire the right person, but then you got to have a good environment and,
you got to have a good culture, man.
A good culture. Yeah. So what are the components to a good culture? How does someone cultivate a nice culture?
We have a good time, man. Like we make sure that we get along. We have mini campaigns, I call it. So obviously in insurance, it's not the funnest thing, but at the end of the day, like our interactions and the people we talk to are, and how we act by insurance. Insurance isn't fun, but we are. That's what we say.
Yeah.
So, but we go to team lunches, we do team activities, we do little things like Mario Kart, or we go to driving range or go out to lunches a lot. We just make sure that we just have a good team environment, have fun, and make sure that because again, like I was saying, you're competing against these other enterprises that, are huge. They have ping pong tables and breaks, or you got, these, you can go play Xbox, or your cafeteria. It's like, well, what does employee value? Like it's getting to know your employees and what they want, and if they just want money, it's like, no. What do you want? Right. So I do mini campaigns when we do blitz calls or sales blocks. And then we base the production off of what prize they get. So a small prize, medium, large prize. And we've already formulated the prizes. So it could be you get a bottle of cologne, or I get to send flowers to someone of your choice, or you get the half a day off of your choice, or you get a name plaque customized in your office, something so they can see visibly, I'm getting something. It's not just here's $20 or here's $50, because that's just they're going to spend that and they're going to forget it. So it's making a lasting imprint on their work environment, and then they like it. And it's getting to know them. It's checking in with them regularly. Are they stressed? Because jobs suck sometimes. It's not meant to always be
it's work.
Yeah. It's sometimes you have a crappy conversation with a customer. Let's talk about it. Cool. All right, let's get over it and let's move on.
So it's about having fun, playing the games.
And their friend, before you're their boss. I don't call them my team. I don't call them their team members. They're not my staff, or I'm not their boss. I'm just work with them. They work with me, and we're a team.
Yeah, I read that a lot of employees don't feel valued or like happy at their job. Is that what you do to keep them happy and to make them feel valued, or are
Yeah,
there more?
and
Are there
I
more of
talk to
that?
them, right? Like, I make sure that they are happy, and that I do regular check-ins, like, and then we make sure everyone else is analyzed by their peers. So we do like a people analyzer and make sure everyone's living up to their core values, that they're problem solving, that they have grit, having fun, they have a good attitude, that they have integrity, they're honest, that they're involved in their community, or they're treating those people at home. Like we analyze everybody and make sure that they're fitting in, and if they're not, then we gotta have a discussion. We gotta talk about it.
That whole creating the culture goes back to the hiring process that you talked about.
Yep.
You got to make sure they're good with everyone you work with, that it's going to be a good fit for the culture, because hiring the right person doesn't just affect you and the business, but it affects every single employee you have, because they have to work with them.
Even more than
So-
me sometimes. So it's like,
Yeah.
how's the relationship with? Yeah, that's why I have them go team lunches and vibe.
Yeah. It's almost like you're creating a team of like friends.
100%.
Yeah. Because you go do so much stuff together.
Yeah, you're with them more than your family, dude. Like,
Yeah.
You're in the office together, all the time. So you got to be able to make sure they vibe and they get along and they have fun.
So American Family Insurance, most people aren't experts on insurance unless they're in insurance.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of insurance does American Family Insurance
Yeah,
offer?
so we specialize in like home, auto, life, like business insurance, workers' comp. We can do just about anything. Like, we don't do health insurance, but
Business insurance? Is
yeah,
that-
business, general liability. Yeah, we do everything. So American Family, we're only 19 states. So we're not huge. We're not like a State Farm or Allstate, Geico, but we are very competitive for that fact. Like, we're not in any coastal states. So like insurance industry right now is crazy. It's super volatile. Like, a lot of things are changing. A lot of companies are pulling out of different states. Like Liberty Mutual is not going to write, new business start January 1st, like anywhere, because they're losing more money on new business than they are keeping customers. So it's like they can't afford it.
So something I see, an ad that comes up a lot on my social media is, I think, Next Insurance for business insurance.
Mm-hmm.
What's the benefit for like coming to you and getting business insurance for all the listeners out there that need it versus going to like,
going online?
yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing I say for versus Geico Progressive. Like, you're calling into 1-800 number. If you ever need anything, you're calling into a 1-800 number. It's kind of hard usually to get someone other than a robot. With us, you're calling and you're talking to a person. And we're gonna
That's
help you.
huge. I hate talking to
people will
robots.
pay more to talk to a person, so it's the value. Like, we never focus on price. Like, if I quote you, I'm not going to ask how much you pay. I'm going to talk about your coverages. I'm going to explain your coverages, and I'm going to talk about the value I bring as an agent. So I tell people I sell an order of 3 things: coverage, value, price, in those order. So we're going to give you more value, more coverage. And at the end of the day, if we can save you money, then great, right?
And I feel like when you actually need the insurance, it's going to be a headache versus I can just call you up and tell you everything.
Exactly. Right. And that's like what the value we bring as an agency. Like, people can text us and call us. Like, my favorite thing is when people get in an accident, they call me. Like, what do I do? I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you called me. Are you okay? Because at the end of the day, like, people don't get in accidents every day. They don't use insurance every day. But the reason I got into it is because everyone's marketable. Like, everyone has to have it.
Mhm.
And that's great job security, So
Yeah. Because most people listening have health, they have home, they have auto. Not everyone has business, but it's probably something they should get.
yeah,
Right.
everyone should get business general liability. Like, especially the new business, like, it's going to be $500 a year. It's pretty cheap, because if you need it, like, you want to have it. And the things that people can, file liability claim against are crazy. So
Yeah, because that's what, $35-$40 a month?
yeah,
That's
and
not bad at
and we
all.
live in a litigious society, man. Like, people file claims just because they want to get rich. So
So if someone already has their home, auto, health, all that, but not business, does it make more sense to come to you and just do everything through one
yeah, like,
company?
if you bundle, you're going to get the most perks, the most discounts. You're going to save like 20 and 30% if you bundle. So at the end of the day, yeah, like, we can include a link here with like a quote for either your business or home, and you just fill it out. We'll get you a quote, but it's super easy and convenient, and we make it make sense, right? Like, I like to tell people, we make insurance sexy, because at the end of the day, like, you have to have it. We want to make sure you understand it and you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And it's something you understand.
Right. So for everybody listening, come talk to Jordan.
Come talk to me.
You're already paying for all this kinds of insurance. Don't go to Next Insurance or all these other people.
Yeah.
Bundle it all and save. I feel like I hear that all the time on the commercials.
Bundle it up.
Now, when
I tell
say
people,
it,
we're not your 15 minutes or less guy. We're gonna talk to you more than 15 minutes, because like 15 minutes or less could save you 15% or more. But we definitely want to talk. We're not transactional. We want to get to know you, and if you want to keep it transactional, like, we'll get to know you and we'll keep it quick. But we want to make sure you're covered adequately at the end of the day. So
We'll put a link in the show notes for everyone to get a quote, to contact you. But if people are just going to go type it in and Google you,
yeah,
how
they
do
can
they
just
find
search
you?
Jordan Weyburn Insurance and we'll pop up. We're there in Sandy, Utah is our office. And come on in, say hi, come play some Mario Kart, hang out. Like, we'd love to give you a quote. And or they can go on Facebook. We're all over Instagram.
Yeah. So Jordan, spell your last name really quick.
Weyburn.
Okay.
So,
all right. Everyone talk to Jordan. He's going to save you a lot of money.
Yeah. Love it. Thanks for the opportunity, man.
Hey, thanks for coming
guy.
on.
Yeah, appreciate it.
My guest today was Jordan Weyburn. If you want to get in contact with him about business insurance or any insurance for that matter, you can get in touch with him on social media by searching Jordan Weyburn or Google Jordan Weyburn Insurance, and his business is at the top of the search. All the links are in the show notes. Well, that wraps up another edition of Utah Hustlers. If you didn't know, you can watch all these episodes on YouTube. We're actually going to start doing these interviews live. So if you have your own question you want answered on the podcast and see the raw, unedited version, go check out the YouTube channel. But whether you consume it on here or on YouTube, we release episodes randomly. So if you want to know exactly when episodes drop and be ahead of the game, subscribe to the show and you'll be notified immediately when the next one comes out. And as always, it's not just about knowing what to do, it's about taking the required action. Until next time, keep building. Hey, if you got a second, go down and check out the show notes. There's more there than you may have thought. Obviously, you can get in contact with me or the guests we have on, but you can send in your comments, feedback, or questions you want answered on the show by clicking the link that's towards the bottom. Or if you want to be on the show yourself, you can apply to be a guest on Utah Hustlers down there as well. If you're a business owner in Utah and take home over $10K a month, I'd love to have you on as long as you share value with Utah Hustlers. Let me know. Go check it out. Love to hear from you.